The 1980s might be one of the most diverse decades when it comes to iconic fashion trends it brought us. From leg warmers to neon fishnet gloves to shoulder pads, the 80s were a time when fashion was all about standing out. But where did these styles come from, and what were the key subcultures that shaped this era? Hi there, I'm Daniela. Today we're diving deep into the history of 1980s fashion and the trends that defined an entire generation. So yeah, let's get into it. To understand 1980s fashion, we have to look at what shaped the decade. The 80s was an era of economic growth, technological advancements, and a rise in mass media. MTV launched in 1981, turning music videos into fashion statements. Pop icons like Madonna, Michael Jackson, and Prince dictated trends, while Hollywood films like Flashdance, Scarface, The Breakfast Club, Wall Street, Desperately Seeking Susan, and Pretty in Pink cemented iconic fashion moments. In the 1980s, when it came to fashion, the motto was definitely the bigger the better. Oversized silhouettes dominated the style scene. I mean, just look at these massive outfits. But it wasn't just the clothes that were big. Voluminous hairstyles and giant boomboxes were all part of the era's love for everything bold and larger than life. The color palette of the 80s was bold, vibrant, and unapologetically loud. The decade embraced a sense of fun, confidence, and experimentation, and the colors reflected that energy. So let's go over the top color trends. Hot pink, electric blue, lime green, neon yellow, and fluorescent orange were everywhere. These eye-popping colors were especially popular in workout wear, club fashion, and youth styles. When you think of 80s, you think of neons, but another thing that was really popular was soft pastels like mint green, baby blue, peach, lavender, and powder pink. These colors often appeared in preppy styles and women's casual wear. The use of primary colors was also very popular in the 80s. Red, blue, and yellow, often in bold, saturated tones, were popular in both streetwear and designer collections. Silver, gold, and metallic tones were also very big in the 80s. Now that we've gone over the color palette and silhouette, let's break down some of the biggest fashion trends of the 80s. With more women entering executive roles and striving for equality in traditionally male-dominated workspaces, fashion evolved to reflect ambition, confidence, and authority. This era marked the birth of power dressing, clothing designed to command respect in the boardroom. Power suits with exaggerated shoulder pads became a staple, creating a commanding silhouette that mirrored traditional male suiting. Designers like Claude Montana and Thierry Mugler were instrumental in popularizing the look, with Montana earning the moniker King of the Shoulder Pad. Power suits were often made in striking jewel tones or classic pinstripes using materials like silk and velvet. This mix gave women the freedom to show personality while still looking polished and professional. Hair was just as equally important as the clothes, with voluminous curls and tease styles adding to the overall commanding presence. For accessories, you would often see ascot ties, oversized earrings, leather belts, and brooches. And these are some movies that I feel like perfectly captured the power dressing look. The 1980s saw a fitness revolution, and with it came one of the most iconic fashion trends of the decade. Aerobics classes filled up, and home workout videos soared in popularity, especially those led by Jane Fonda. So bright, bold, and full of energy workout wear became a major part of everyday style. People wore their leggings, leg warmers, and headbands to the mall, to hang out, or just to feel stylish and active. For this style, leggings and leotards were absolutely a must, and you would also see leg warmers, oversized sweatshirts, elastic headbands, and scrunchies being used. I feel like the athletic wear trend reflects how fun and lighthearted the 80s were as a decade. Bold, theatrical, and breaking gender norms, New Romanticism was a musical and fashion movement that defined the more artistic and experimental side of 80s style. The style emerged from the late 70s club scene in London and Birmingham, especially at venues like Billy's and the Blitz. The New Romantic look was flamboyant and luxurious, influenced by 17th and 18th century historical fashion as well as glam rock and avant-garde art. The style draws much of its inspiration from pirate fashion, largely due to designer Vivienne Westwood, whose pirate collection played a major role in shaping the New Romantic look. Adam and the Ants were key figures in popularizing this style. Adam Ant in particular blended elements from British punk, pirate, and highwayman aesthetics, Celtic and Native American attire, and Romantic-era art to create his distinctive look. Another major influence came from Bow Wow Wow and their lead singer Annabella, who was also styled by Vivienne Westwood. Now let's review the main features of the New Romantic style. For tops, you'd often see ruffled shirts and romantic blouses, often in silk or satin with flowing sleeves and frilly collars. Capes were another fashionable and theatrical choice, adding to the overall aristocratic historical aesthetic that defined the New Romantic style. These pieces were often paired with high-waisted trousers, kilts, culotte pants, and maxi skirts. And for footwear, you'd mostly see boots and heels being worn. Like most things in the 80s, accessories were bold. Oversized earrings, fingerless gloves, colored tights, chunky layered jewelry, and pirate hats were must-haves for this look. Makeup and hair was equally just as important in the style. For makeup, the most commonly seen look had defined brows and eyeliner, bright eyeshadows, and contour cheeks. The look was very androgynous, so you would see both men and women wear makeup. And for hair, it was voluminous, asymmetrical, and often dyed in bright or unnatural colors. And you would usually see feathers and ribbons added for some hair accessories. The new romantic style stands out as one of the rare, truly androgynous fashion movements, with no limits on what people of any gender could wear. The movement went on to shape the early goth and death rock scenes, and even had an impact on the emerging visual kei style in Japan. The preppy look was one of the defining styles of the 80s, blending a sense of tradition with laid-back sophistication. It drew inspiration from the style of elite prep schools and Ivy League campuses, giving off a vibe of privilege, refinement, and effortless coolness. But thanks to pop culture and major fashion brands, the look quickly spread beyond its upper-class roots and became more of a mainstream style. Let's go over the key elements of the preppy style. For tops, you'd often see polo shirts being worn, tucked or untucked, often with a popped collar. J. Crew and Ralph Lauren polos were especially iconic. Sweaters tied over the shoulders were also stylish yet practical, and blazers, cardigans, and cable knit sweaters were also other popular options for tops. While preppy style is often associated with polos and blazers, Laura Ashley dresses were also a popular choice for garden parties, graduations, or other semi-formal daytime events. They offered a dressed-up yet more conservative option that fit seamlessly into the whole preppy lifestyle. For preppy bottoms, you'd see high-waisted jeans, skirts, and khakis, often paired with a belt. And for footwear, it was loafers, boat shoes, and white sneakers that you'd see the most, with brands like Sperry, Treetorn, and Keds leading the way. For this style, accessories tended to be quite minimal, but you'd usually see sunglasses, belts, watches, and high-quality jewelry being worn. Preppy fashion was everywhere, from college campuses to TV screens. Characters in films like The Breakfast Club and Dead Poet Society embraced the style and quiet confidence, and TV shows like Family Ties, Miami Vice, and Growing Pains also showcased the preppy style. The 80s was the golden era for glam metal, and with it came one of the decade's most rebellious and eye-catching fashion trends. This style was all about rebellion, sex appeal, and a bit of fantasy. It bounced between gritty streetwear and flashy glam, creating a look that was both raw and polished. Influenced by iconic bands like Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, and Motley Crue, the style was loud, edgy, and unapologetically bold, perfectly reflecting the high-energy, hard-living rock and roll lifestyle. This style was strikingly bold, with vibrant fabrics and eye-catching patterns that showcased its daring nature. Leopard spots and bold patterns made their way into shirts, scarves, and even pants, adding to the glam factor. PU leather and metallic fabrics were also frequently incorporated into this style. Now let's get into the key elements of glam rock fashion. Band tees were absolutely a staple for this look, because wearing a band's tee wasn't just about style. It was like a badge of loyalty and identity, often paired with leather or denim jackets. Bustiers and vests were also quite popular for this look. For bottoms, ripped jeans, leather pants, and miniskirts were frequently seen and often paired with boots or high-top sneakers. And accessories were an absolute must for this style, with chains, studded belts, leather cuffs, and fingerless gloves adding layers of attitude and toughness. Bangle bracelets, chunky rings, bandanas, and aviator sunglasses were also staples. And of course, you had to have your extremely teased, heavily hairsprayed hair. Honestly, the bigger the better for this style, with wild curls and dramatic waves being seen. Emerging from the post-punk scene of the late 70s and early 80s, goth fashion and music carved out a unique niche that combined darkness, romance, and theatricality. It was a subculture defined by its fascination with the macabre, melancholy, and the mystical, a stark contrast to the bright, bold styles dominating mainstream 80s culture. Goth clubs and events became key social hubs, with iconic venues like London's Batcave playing a central role in the community. Goth fashion of the 80s was theatrical, moody, and richly textured, creating an otherworldly look inspired by Victorian morning dress, punk rebellion, and kind of horror aesthetics. Layers of black lace, velvet, leather, and fishnet created a rich, textured look, and black was the dominant color, from clothing to makeup to accessories. However, you would also see some jewel tones being incorporated into the fashion as well. For tops and outerwear, you would see ruffled blouses, mesh and fishnet tops, corsets, vests, leather jackets, and tailored coats being worn. And for bottoms, long flowing skirts, form-fitting miniskirts, and dark skinny jeans. And many goths customized their clothes with safety pins, patches, and handmade jewelry as a way to express their individuality. And for goth footwear, you would mostly see boots and heels being worn. Accessories were very important to achieve the goth look, so you'd see crucifixes, ankh symbols, chokers, silver jewelry with occult motifs, leather belts, chain belts, fishnet stockings, and fingerless gloves being worn. And much like the new romantic style, dramatic goth makeup and hair played a key role in creating a complete, unified look. For makeup, pale foundation paired with dark eyeliner, heavy mascara, and deep lipstick shades like black, plum, or burgundy created a hauntingly beautiful look. Hair was very teased, voluminous, and often jet black or dyed in shades of purple, red, or blue. In goth culture, fashion and music were deeply intertwined, with both serving as powerful tools for self-expression and identity. Goth's focus on individuality, emotion, and drama has left a lasting mark on alternative fashion and music scenes even today. In the 1980s, the term yuppie came to represent ambition, success, and the chase for the American dream. These were young professionals climbing the ranks in finance, law, and corporate careers who adopted a lifestyle centered on luxury and status, and their fashion choices were all about showcasing power and affluence. Tailored suits became the uniform for both men and women, often featuring sharp cuts, padded shoulders, and classic colors like navy, gray, and black. Accessories were just as important as the clothes themselves, and yuppies loved flaunting designer brands. Designer watches like Rolex signaled success and good taste, and Gucci briefcases, sleek pens, and subtle yet expensive jewelry completed the look. The rise of yuppies was tied closely to the booming economy and the aggressive capitalism of the 80s. Films like Wall Street and TV shows such as Dynasty, LA Law, and 30-something perfectly captured the yuppie aesthetic with the spirit of ambition, wealth accumulation, and the competitive drive to succeed. The 80s marked a revolutionary period for hip-hop culture, which emerged from the streets of New York and quickly spread worldwide. Alongside music and dance, fashion became a vital way for hip-hop artists and fans to express identity, creativity, and pride. This era's style was bold, functional, and deeply rooted in street culture, influencing mainstream fashion for decades to come. The fashion mixed casual athletic wear with luxury, laying the groundwork for the sportluxe trends that became popular in the 90s. Now let's get into the iconic clothing and accessories of the hip-hop style. Adidas tracksuits were arguably the most iconic part of 80s hip-hop fashion, combining comfort with style. The brand's signature three-stripe design came to represent true hip-hop credibility, thanks in part to the influence of Run DMC. Their hit song My Adidas was a tribute to the brand's deep connection to the culture. Loose-fitting jeans, often worn low with a belt, and baggy cargo pants were also popular, providing comfort and freedom for breakdancing and other street dance styles. For tops, you'd see bold, graphic t-shirts featuring logos, slogans, or images, along with varsity-style jackets. And for the footwear, you'd see high-top sneakers from brands like Adidas, Puma, Fila, and Nike because they were essential for the style. Flashy, oversized gold jewelry was a major part of the look. Chains, medallions, hoop earrings, bracelets, and four-finger rings weren't just accessories, they were status symbols, flaunting success and style. Kangol hats were also very popular. These bucket and beret-style hats were a staple of hip-hop fashion and worn by artists like LL Cool J. And you can't talk about 80s hip-hop fashion without mentioning Dapper Dan. Dapper Dan, a designer from Harlem, ran his boutique from 1982 to 1992. Dan became known for creating custom pieces using bootleg designer fabrics, introducing his clientele to luxury brands like Gucci, Fendi, and Louis Vuitton in a way that was both accessible and street savvy. Artists like Salt and Peppa and Eric B. and Rakim famously collaborated with him, featuring his designs in their visuals and music videos. Dan's work was a perfect fusion of laid-back streetwear and the bold display of wealth that became a hallmark of hip-hop culture. His influences clearly shaped the direction of high fashion, which now frequently embraces items like designer bucket hats, tracksuits, and flashy costume jewelry. While some elements may feel dated, many of the trends born in that era have carried on through the decades, unlike the more short-lived trends of the 80s like shoulder pads or the stereotypical 80s leotard. Rockabilly fashion made a strong comeback in the 80s, fueled by a nostalgic love for 50s rock and roll. The revival blended vintage Americana style with modern touches, giving it a look that was both retro and fresh. Now let's get into the rockabilly fashion. The classic leather biker jacket was a staple, often paired with cuffed blue jeans. For tops, you'd see tightly fitted tees featuring vintage rock and roll imagery, classic cars, or motorcycle brands, giving a casual yet edgy vibe. And you'd often see flannel and plaid shirts being worn open over tees or buttoned up with rolled sleeves. The girls embraced the feminine side of rockabilly with high-waisted pencil skirts, leather pants, or full circle skirts, often paired with polka dots or cherry prints. And for accessories, bandanas tied around the neck or in the hair, thick belts, studded bracelets, and classic cat-eye sunglasses completed the aesthetic. Because the style was trying to replicate the 50s look, men's hair was styled into iconic pompadours or ducktail cuts. And for women, you'd see curled ponytails, pin curls, and hairstyles with bandanas. Films such as Back to the Future and Grease definitely romanticized and popularized the 1950s style, inspiring teens and young adults in the 80s. And the final 80s fashion subculture I'll explore today is the indie scene. Compared to the other styles I've covered so far, it was definitely the most low-key, defined by a sense of effortlessness and a deliberately unpolished look. Alongside hip-hop fashion, the indie aesthetic has had a lasting impact that continues to resonate today. Key bands that shaped this movement included the Smiths, Echo and the Bunnymen, and the Jesus and Mary Chain. Their style was very relaxed and understated, standing in stark contrast to the theatrical looks of the New Romantics or glam metal fans. The indie look was all about subtlety, often featuring pieces like knitwear, Doc Martens, denim jackets, and corduroy pants, typically in muted, understated tones. Much of this clothing came from thrift shops, making the style far more accessible and affordable than the polished, expensive outfits worn by their yuppie peers. This inclusivity allowed young people from diverse backgrounds to adopt the look, and many drew inspiration from figures like Johnny Marr and Ian McCulloch. As one of the most practical and easy-to-wear styles to emerge from the 80s, it's no surprise that its influence is still visible today. I've noticed that casual, everyday fashion for teens and young adults in the 80s doesn't get talked about very much, so of course I want to dedicate a section to that, because after all, not everyone dressed up like Cyndi Lauper, LL Cool J, or Janet Jackson, and most people had more of a low-key, everyday style that's definitely worth highlighting too. First, let's get into the girls' fashion. For tops, you'd see oversized sweaters and sweatshirts, graphic tees and band tees, blouses with ruffles or puff sleeves, vests, off-the-shoulder tops, denim jackets, leather jackets, and cardigans being worn. For bottoms, you'd see high-waisted jeans, leggings and stirrup pants, bubble skirts, tulle skirts, parachute pants, tiered skirts, and denim mini skirts. For footwear, you'd see high-top sneakers, leg warmers, knee-high socks, saddle shoes, jelly shoes, and huarache shoes. And for accessories, you'd see scrunchies, big hair bows, headbands, fingerless lace and fishnet gloves, chunky bangles and bracelets, large colorful plastic earrings, belts, and layered necklaces. Now let's go over what the guys would wear. For tops, you'd see graphic tees and band tees, sometimes with the sleeves cut off, oversized hoodies and sweatshirts, varsity jackets and letterman sweaters, blazers with rolled up sleeves, button-down shirts, and denim and leather jackets. For bottoms, you'd see khakis or chinos, jeans, parachute pants, and tracksuits. And like the girls, you would see high-top sneakers from brands like Vans, Reebok, Nike, Adidas, and Keds. And lastly, for the accessories, you'd see baseball caps, bandanas, Kangol hats, aviator sunglasses, chunky chain necklaces, fingerless gloves, belts, chunky sports watches, and cuff bracelets being worn. If you're looking for more laid-back 80s style inspiration, I'd suggest checking out movies and TV shows from that time, as they give a great glimpse of what people actually wore day to day. I'm gonna list a few here on the screen if you want some to watch, and I thought it'd be fun to include some photos of my mom in the 80s to showcase some more real-life examples of what teens and young adults wore. So hopefully you guys enjoy seeing these photos. I also asked my aunt for photos, and she sent me these two photos of herself in the 80s. Now let's get into 80s fashion icons and their signature styles, as each one helped define a unique corner of the decade's diverse and experimental fashion scene. Arguably the most iconic figure of the 80s, Michael Jackson was celebrated not just for his groundbreaking music, but also his distinctive fashion sense. He fused military-inspired style with elements of 1950s flair, creating a look that was entirely his own. Some of his most memorable outfits include the red leather jacket from Thriller, the single sequin glove from the Billie Jean era, and his edgy transformation in Bad, where he mixed black leather adorned with buckles, zippers, and belts for a tougher, more edgy image. Next up is siouxsie Sue, the queen of 80s goth. Her band was key in shaping the goth scene, and her look became just as iconic as her music. With her wild, teased hair and sharp geometric eye makeup, she stood out instantly. Her style was bold, dramatic, and androgynous, with always a touch of glamour. And she definitely wasn't afraid to experiment, often mixing edgy, theatrical pieces with everyday wear to create a look that was completely her own. With siouxsie being the queen of goth, Robert Smith, the frontman of The Cure, was the king of goth. His style was instantly recognizable: messy, teased black hair, smudged red lipstick, pale skin, and heavy eyeliner. And he often wore oversized black clothes, button-up shirts, and long trench coats that gave him a romantic, mysterious type of vibe. Now switching to something more preppy, Princess Diana was the face of 80s preppy style. Early on, her look reflected the times with ruffled collars, pussy bow blouses, and pastel suits with strong shoulder pads. But as the decade went on, her style became more confident and fashion-forward. She turned heads in elegant off-the-shoulder gowns, bold prints, and sleek tailoring, always balancing a royal tradition with a modern edge. Whether she was in a glamorous evening dress or a casual sweatshirt and shorts, Diana made everything look effortlessly chic. Janet Jackson was a powerhouse in the 80s, not just for her music, but her bold, unmistakable style. Like Michael, she rocked military-inspired looks with sharp shoulders, structured jackets, and all-black outfits that felt strong and a bit futuristic. Her Rhythm Nation era especially defined her image. Black caps, fingerless gloves, and statement accessories like the key earring became her signature. Janet's style was edgy, androgynous, and totally stylish, and she didn't just follow trends, she set them. Now for 80s hip-hop fashion, you can't talk about it without mentioning LL Cool J. His look was all about streetwear with a cool, confident vibe. Think Kangol bucket hats, thick gold chains, and tracksuits that showed off his effortless swag. He helped bringing hip-hop fashion into the mainstream, and his style became a blueprint for the culture for years to come. Joan Jett was the ultimate rock rebel in the 80s. Her style was all about that gritty, no-nonsense punk attitude. Think black leather jackets, tight jeans, and banties. She kept things simple but tough, with messy, teased hair and bold eyeliner that perfectly matched her badass vibe. Pat Benatar is another iconic rocker worth mentioning. Her look was tough but feminine and sexy, and she would wear lots of spandex pants, leotards, crop tops, and definitely wore lots of leather. And she often added edgy touches like fingerless gloves, bold belts, and dramatic eye makeup. Grace Jones was in a league of her own when it came to 80s style. It was bold, futuristic, and totally fearless. Her look was all sharp angles and striking silhouettes with structured suits, sculptural hats, and dramatic makeup that turned heads everywhere she went. She played with gender and form, often rocking androgynous outfits that challenged every fashion rule of the time. Her high cheekbones, flat top haircut, and intense presence made her look unforgettable. Prince's style was bold, sensual, and totally unique. His fashion blended glam rock, high fashion, and gender fluidity into a look that was all his own. Think ruffled shirts, velvet suits, lace gloves, high heels, and dramatic coats, all in vibrant purples, reds, and metallics. His Purple Rain era alone gave us some of the most iconic looks in music history. MC Hammer's fashion was bold, eye-catching, and truly memorable. His trademark style featured his famous baggy hammer pants with wide legs and tight ankles, ideal for his energetic dance routines. He often wore them with flashy jackets, chunky gold chains, and oversized shades. Boy George stood out as one of the most unique and daring fashion icons of the 80s. His look was all about bold self-expression, colorful makeup, oversized hats, braids, and layers of eclectic clothing that mixed cultures, genders, and eras. He frequently wore flowing garments, sharp jackets, eye-catching patterns, and androgynous shapes. With his drawn-on eyebrows, striking eyeliner, and vivid lipstick, he turned getting dressed into an art form. You can't talk about 80s fashion without talking about Cyndi Lauper's eclectic and colorful style. Her look was a mashup of punk, vintage, and pop art, with layers of tulle, lace, fishnets, and clashing patterns that somehow worked all together. She rocked bright, teased hair in every color of the rainbow, bold makeup, and tons of quirky accessories, from chunky jewelry to mismatched shoes. Cyndi's style wasn't about following trends, it was about breaking all the rules and just having fun with it. Don Johnson's look in Miami Vice basically redefined men's fashion in the 80s. As Sonny Crockett, he rocked pastel suits with t-shirts instead of dress shirts, which was a total game changer at the time. The vibe was sleek, relaxed, and effortlessly cool, mixing luxury with laid-back Miami flair. Molly Ringwald was the ultimate teen style icon of the 80s, thanks to her unforgettable roles in John Hughes classics like Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, and The Breakfast Club. Her fashion vibe was quirky, vintage-inspired, and totally original, with oversized blazers, florals, pearls, lace gloves, and layered accessories. She made mismatched look so chic, often mixing soft, feminine pieces with a bit of edge. With her short red hair, rosy makeup, and effortlessly cool attitude, Molly captured the artsy, offbeat charm that so many teens connected with. Madonna was the queen of 80s fashion and constantly reinventing herself with a fearless, edgy flair. Her fashion was packed with attitude, featuring lace gloves, layered chains, crucifix accessories, and loads of tulle. She seamlessly blended punk, street style, and glamour, all with a bold confidence that set her apart as a trendsetter. From fingerless gloves to oversized hair bows, Madonna's look was all about breaking the rules and embracing individuality, inspiring an entire generation to explore fashion as a form of self-expression. Last but not least is Whitney Houston, a true 80s style icon. She often wore chic, tailored dresses and powerful suits with structured shoulders. Whitney embraced vibrant colors, shimmering sequins, and eye-catching accessories that brought just the right touch of glam without overshadowing her natural beauty. With her signature voluminous hair and beautiful smile, every outfit she wore left a lasting impression. The 1980s was a time when fashion was experimental, expressive, and ever-changing. From power dressing to the theatrical new romantics, the decade offered something for everyone. I'd love to know which 80s style is your personal favorite, so please leave a comment below. And if you love this deep dive into 80s fashion, don't forget to like and subscribe for more style guides. If you'd like to see me cover more fashion history or go over a specific style, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye!